now listening to the Lineman Lounge.
Where sleeves are optional.
Aren't you tired of the same old podcast? Aren't you tired of the same old things? Don't you want to switch it up a little bit? Listen up, cause I'm about to blow your brain. Let your seat kick back, let your feet relax. Come on over, take a listen to the Lineman Lounge. In the car, at your crib, anywhere that you want. Come on over, take a listen to the Lineman Lounge. Got the NFL, got MLB, got NBA, and some UFC. Got college sports, we talking fantasy. Come on over, take a listen to the boy Mike C. Only on
The Lineman Lounge.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Lineman Lounge. This is your host, Mike Carlisle. I am joined by the man, Evo. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. A little bit tired. We're running these night shifts, and goddamn, it just is dragging on me sometimes. But it's good to be here. It's Friday. Ready to
Thank
talk
God.
some sports.
Yeah, the night shift is absolutely terrible. Got off at 4 o'clock this morning. Went to bed. Now I'm up doing this, drinking some coffee, and yeah, I'm extremely tired. However, I am ready for today. Kind of excited for today. Football season is now officially back. Kind of. Because the football that was on last night wasn't real football. It was kind of like real football. Very much like the way I want to start today's show. You have now decided that you are going to get into the coaching game. It's not just me coaching youth sports. You are now a flag football coach for 5 to 7-year-olds. How does that feel? What was day one of practice like? I got to hear about this before we get into the show.
Yeah, so Mike's a father. He's coached youth football and stuff before. The most that I've really kind of done with that is as a senior in high school, I kind of blew my knee out a little bit. You know, a lot of fun with that. And I got the opportunity to, coach to some extent our JV football team in high school, which I loved. I absolutely loved it. Being in the military and kind of helping lead soldiers, foster their growth. That was always something I really liked. But, I'm not a dad. I'm not around kids a ton. So just kind of jumping into 5 to 7-year-old like flag football is scarier than I thought it was going to be, just because I don't have a drinking problem right now, but I feel like I could develop that with this sort of choice. So it was interesting, a lot of fun, tough to remember names. I had a kid tell me his name was Cookie Adams. His name was not Cookie Adams. So that sort of stuff, it's gonna be interesting for sure. It's definitely like wrangling cats a little bit because no one wants to pay attention, but I think it's a good thing. Kind of get back to the community a little bit, should be fun. Should be fun while figuring out to see if this is a thing that I want to do more regularly. I've always kind of had that itch to get back into coaching. I thought it probably would be at a higher level, but it's probably good to start with what could be considered more of a difficult thing with the younger kids first, and then go from there. But yeah, that's real football started, I guess, yesterday, not NFL. We're talking, developmental, real developmental football.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're a couple years removed from flag football. Thank God. Flag football is tough. 5 to 7-year-olds don't listen for shit to anybody.
Yep.
And especially if you don't have a kid on that team, that's gonna for me, I have my son. I have Graydon. I can yell at Graydon, and I can kind of get everybody else's attention because coach is going to yell at his son, and he's going to get them all working. You're not going to have that opportunity. Now, 5 to 7-year-olds, yelling at them is not always the best thing, especially if they're not your kids. So that's going to be tough. I'm surprised. You or Matt, who is one of the other coaches. What's up, Coop? Did not smack one of those kids already. I figured that was going to be that's how it was going to go.
Well, that was a funny part to me. So that's also a worry, is that I don't like yelling at kids necessarily. I'm sure that there's points in time where you'll get so frustrated that you're going to have to raise the tone of voice and stuff like that, or dole out some sort of a physical punishment as far as like making them run laps and stuff like that. But Coop yesterday is trying to get their attention. They're all running around hugging each other, not really paying attention. He's like, hey, if you don't start listening, I'm going to make you run around this whole field. How does that sound? They're all like, yay! Like it was supposed to be a punishment, and they're just like, yeah, let's do it. He's like, no. That's a punishment. You will not like it. I was just laughing because I was like, these kids are nothing but energy. Running around the field just sounds horrible to me. You know?
Oh God, no!
And
I
just,
couldn't. My ass would not make it around.
they're all
that
about
field.
it. Yeah, and that was a thing for me too. Is so that I like to go to the gym and work out and stuff like that. I might not look it because I'm hella thick, but I like to actually go and work out and burn off some of the energy. And I thought it wasn't going to be that big of an issue for me yesterday with practice because we're working in like a 40-foot by 40-foot space on these fields that's being shared by everybody, and I'm a little sore today, doing some extra slow push-ups with the kids, a lot more of that kind of squatting, breaking down, getting in a good football,
getting into those stances
position, I'm a little sore today, so it'll be good for me, physical health wise, I'm sure. But yeah, those kids are just nothing but energy, and it's going to be a very interesting experience. I'm sure it's going to be pretty rewarding to kind of help the youth of today, find their love of sports and football. So yeah, it should be fun.
Good, man. I'm glad you're doing it. It's always a good time. I love coaching sports. I love coaching youth sports, football especially. There are times where it's frustrating. There are times where it's super rewarding. Like when you see a kid finally, when they pull their first flag, when they score their first touchdown, when they make their first tackle, they get a sack, something like that. You're going to be really excited for that kid. You're going to be so excited. It's like you accomplish something watching them do it. I'm really happy you're doing it, man, and it's going to be great. But let's transition over into the NFL, where there was a form of football played last night in the Hall of Fame game.
Yep.
This is the worst football game all year, and it's the very first one. These guys are in camp 2 weeks early. Nobody fucking wants to be at camp. You have two teams that have not had that much time in camp, and now we also have two teams that are bringing a quarterback back from a devastating injury, and a team that is trying to integrate a new offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was a shit show.
Hall of Fame games, they're always, my Vikings have played in them and stuff like that, and I'm excited for it. But realistically, it's just kind of a bullshit game. It's another opportunity for injuries and everything, and because it's so publicized, televised, I think you get a little bit less out of it. But, the focus for the coaches have to be, it's a preseason game. This is to implement some of our plays and everything against an actual opposing team, not just our scout team, see what we got. And it was, for all intents and purposes, sounded pretty rough last night. You've got, like you were alluding to, the Steelers. They've got new coordinator Canada. Don't remember his first name. And he was implementing a new offense for Pittsburgh. Sounded, I don't want to say necessarily gimmicky, but, a lot of pre-snap motion, things like that, which ended up resulting in a fumble because of all the motion that was happening. Sounds like Pittsburgh left some players in a lot longer than they were expecting. Usually in those first preseason games, you're going to see next to no starters almost, unless it's fringe guys that are really trying to fight for that one spot versus the backup role. And those guys were playing into the second quarter, which is a little bit unusual. And I like to have the starters go out there and get at least a series, and not even necessarily in the first game. But you had, Chase Claypool, which was one of their best, draft picks here out there in the second quarter, and then he leaves with an injury. Now, it sounds like it's nothing. Maybe the wind knocked out him or something like that because he landed on the football after a big catch. But do you want to risk that? Do you want to risk losing to Chase Claypool right from the get-go? I don't really want that.
No. So I thought it was – the offense – neither offense looked good. Big Ben doesn't play, as he shouldn't have played. Najee was into the second quarter. He didn't look good while he was in. He had 3.1 yards per carry. I'm gonna equate that to new offense, new system, Najee's a rookie. I mean, he should be okay, but 3.1 yards per carry does not look good. Claypool had the one big catch, but also gets hurt on the play, and this is also in the second quarter. I don't understand. I mean, I know they need to put their system in play, right? This needs to get done. They have got to work out something. But this is the Hall of Fame game. Both of these teams have 4 preseason games. Every other team is going to have 3. These 2 teams got shit on and have to do 4 because they're in the Hall of Fame game. They cut one of those preseason games off. Why? I mean, you have more time. You definitely do not need Najee, Claypool playing into the second quarter.
Yeah.
Not looking effective as it is, playing with quarterbacks who didn't look terrible, I guess, but they're going up against guys that are not making the team. This Hall of Fame game is littered with people who are not making this team.
I mean, let's be real. Mason Rudolph was playing, Dwayne Haskins was playing, and it doesn't sound like either of them made any major
Neither one of
jumps
them
from the previous year. You know, you still have Mason Rudolph, strong arm, and he's kind of shit everywhere else in between. And then Dwayne Haskins just can't hit the side of a barn door. He's overthrowing people, things like that.
By all accounts, the best looking quarterback was Dobbs.
Yeah, and I've liked Dobbs as a backup guy before, but he's never gonna go out there and be your starter. No. And that's the point. Is that those are the type of guys that probably should be in the game. You're looking at your fringe second or third stringers, guys that aren't going to make the roster, but you want to see who they are. If maybe you've got a diamond in the rough.
This game is a chance for a lot of guys at the bottom of the roster who are not making this prospective team to put something good on tape, so other teams can see it and maybe bring you in.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's a lot for the coaches too. Get the butterflies out of the coach's stomach, let them implement their offense as far as a play calling perspective and things like that. But it's less for the players at this point in a sense of really learning the offense. That's you're getting the majority of that out of practice. Yeah. So yeah, it was kind of weird seeing those guys play that late in the game, but.
Yeah, very weird. Very weird. I don't know why they would do it unless there's real. This kind of just tells me that they got some problems right now in Pittsburgh.
I mean, they're weeks and weeks away from this working for them.
Yeah,
they need a lot more practice. So
they need a lot more. But on the opposite side of the ball, Cowboys, Micah Parsons looks fantastic, flying around the field. He ends up with that fumble recovery because of the botch snap with all the extra motion that Pittsburgh's trying to run. By all accounts, he looks fantastic. The Cowboys got a damn good linebacker to kind of help solidify that linebacker room that has been hurt so much over the last couple of years. Yeah. And they definitely needed to shore up that defense. So
yeah, so Parsons, I think I don't know if anyone was really questioning that he was going to be a stud coming into the league.
I mean, everybody kind of knew it.
Watching his film breakdown and stuff before the draft, it was like, this guy's just an easy first-round pick. He's going to be a stud at linebacker. There's really not a whole lot of question to it. He's like one of those locks. So to see him perform this well in, his first NFL action, albeit, the Hall of Fame game, wasn't really surprising to me. It's good for the Cowboys. It's kind of, proud of the guy. I guess he was on close to like a 10 tackle pace before halftime, which is exactly what you're expecting from a stud linebacker like that. Yep. So happy for him, happy for the Cowboys. And then, you have the kind of low hanging fruit of, Packers, excuse me. I can't help but think about that.
You were going to take a shot at somebody, and Packers immediately came to mind.
The Cowboys are in midseason form, losing a football game.
Yeah, so, absolutely. They scored 3 points.
Yep.
3 points.
But they also were playing way less of their starters.
That is very true.
So it's preseason. I never hold any of those scores or anything to the team. I rarely take anything from the practices when you get all those reports of this person's looking really good in practice or this person's looking really good in practice. Well, it is practice. That's where players are supposed to go and work out and iron out their issues. They should be showing you their worst parts of them in practice, so that way it's not in the game.
That reminds me of that the Richard Sherman tape where he got absolutely torched in training camp, and people were like, "Oh, Richard Sherman's lost it. Richard Sherman's lost it. He can't do it no more." And then everybody comes to find out, no, Richard was trying a new technique
Mm-hmm.
to see if he could get it down to help make him better. He went on and had a Pro Bowl season that year.
Yeah.
It means nothing. These practices.
You got to take it all with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
All with a grain of salt. Now, when you're looking at individual playing technique in the actual preseason games, that's really what I'm looking for. That's why, preseason for most people, your average NFL fan is pretty boring because you are watching second and third stream teams, and people are just like, "What's the score? What's the score at the end of the game?"
I mean, who gives a shit?
I get very invested and very involved with individual players, especially draft picks from this current season or previous season who are kind of taking more of that normal developmental path of an NFL player where they don't just jump in and start and become a star. You want to see them grow, learn the position, learn how to become an NFL player. So I like to actually, if I can, record the game or have some sort of a replay capability, go back and watch those individual position groups and individual positions. I like seeing the defensive linemen grow and learn, their different moves. I like watching how cornerbacks will learn from one play to another, how to, recover from, not playing the receiver correctly, things like that. And you can actually see some of these players in real time grow from even just one preseason game to another. And it's really cool for me to watch that. That's where I nerd out about football, is watching those preseason games and the development of guys that I want to become invested in, because I'm always a underdog, like rooting for the underdog. So if I can find that guy that's an undrafted free agent on the team or a 6th round pick, and I was like, liking this guy before they came to the team or in the draft, and now I can kind of attach myself to him and be like, yeah, that's my guy. He's doing good. That's always fun for me.
Yeah. So when I'm watching a preseason game, I'm very much looking for the rookies, and then there's always a couple of guys that you just know from maybe a year prior, 2 years prior. Like, man, we got this guy in the 5th, 6th round. Hey, we got this undrafted free agent. Nobody knows why he went undrafted, but we decided to go out, sign him, and we gave him a bunch of guaranteed money. I want to see those guys perform. I don't necessarily need them to go and show out. I want to see how they work in the system, especially on that offensive or defensive line, right? I want to see a guy who understands his responsibilities, and if he makes the play, fantastic. But guys at that level, right, they're not going to be starters. They're not. You want a rotational guy. You want a guy who comes in and he knows exactly what his job is. He does his job, and if he makes the spectacular play, great. If not, you're in the position that you're supposed to be in. That's all I care about for those guys. When your star players go out of the game, you don't replace him with a star player. I wish it was that way, but it's not. You need a guy who can literally just come in and do the job. Do your job. Carry your gap or your responsibility. But a lot of times you'll see guys in these preseason games don't know where they're supposed to be, and then you're like, okay, well, that guy's getting cut. If you don't know where you're at on the field, if you don't know where your responsibility is on the field, game over. Doesn't matter how physically gifted you are. You have to play within a system, and those are the things that I'm looking for when I'm watching a preseason game.
Absolutely, 100%. The physical traits are great, but it's got to be able to be put out there on the field. So in some other NFL news, this is more recent as of today. We had heard about Josh Allen, how if they didn't get a deal done to extend him by week 1, they were just going to table it and work on it at the end of the year, which means that they were working on that deal. And it comes out today that Josh Allen gets his big new contract. He's the newest extended quarterback in the NFL.
He is, and it's for a lot of money. It's so much money. So we were talking before we started recording. Is it too much? Is it too little? So anybody who doesn't know the details of the contract,
6 years, $258 million,
150 guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is the most guaranteed money for any player ever. Okay, that's higher than Pat Mahomes, even though Pat Mahomes got $500 million. That's still more guaranteed than Pat. That's higher than Dak. who had 95, and then Matt Ryan at 94.5, who's on a god awful contract for the Falcons.
Yeah, that's rough for them.
I think it's too high. You were kind of on the opposite end. We were like, is it enough? Is this gonna?
So that's with a salary cap expected to kind of really jump next year. You know, we had this weird COVID year where salaries and everything, or the salary cap went down a little bit this year. We're going to see a big jump next year, and that's why you had a lot of guys come and sign one-year deals and things like that this year, because they know, okay, if I go out there, I prove it this year, I should be able to get a big contract next year because teams are going to have an excess of money. So the quarterback is the most important position on the field. Those guys are always going to get paid the most. Makes sense. I'm not saying that Josh Allen is or isn't worth the $258 million. I'm just saying that quarterback's a premium position, and those guys are going to always be relatively seem like they're getting overpaid. So for Josh Allen to get the $258 million a year, I was almost expecting him to be getting more than that, because you're going to have guys like Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield also in the next season looking at their contract extensions, from that same class. I think Josh Allen, so I was not against Josh Allen in the draft, but I was extremely skeptical. And I still think that while he is very talented in what he does, he needs that supporting cast around him. I don't think he's a Mahomes. I don't think he's a Deshaun Watson. I'm not sure that he's Lamar Jackson or Baker Mayfield, to be completely honest. He's shown a lot, but we really didn't see that gigantic jump until you brought in a Stephon Diggs for him, and he had that really good supporting cast.
Yeah, so for me, I was always a big fan of Josh Allen. So I'm kind of on the opposite end. I really liked Josh Allen coming out. I kind of wanted the Browns to take Josh Allen, but I didn't want him to go at number 1. I thought we were going to go somewhere else at 1. But I was very happy with Baker at 1. If we weren't getting Josh Allen, I wanted Baker. I didn't want either one of the kids. I didn't want Rosen, and I didn't want Darnold coming out of California. They were, in my opinion, they looked terrible, and they've been terrible.
Yeah.
And then Lamar Jackson.
I never got the hype from those guys. So.
Lamar Jackson was never in the conversation up that high. He, falls all the way to the end of the first. Has been fantastic for the Ravens, but I don't think anybody expected the meteoric rise of Lamar Jackson. But I still think this contract is a little high. Now, granted, the cap is going up, right? But Josh Allen's not the second best quarterback. The NFL is all about timing when it comes to contracts.
Yep.
He's coming due, but they don't have to do this contract right now. They could have waited. He's on his 4th year. They have a whole nother year because they've already picked up his 5th-year option. $43 million is so much. That is right now. Like, if that contract were to go into place right now, that's almost 25% of the team's cap. That's insane. Is the quarterback worth 25% of your team? That's hard to say because we've seen it done different ways. We've seen Tom Brady take pay cuts to bring in other talent. We've seen guys take huge contracts, and then their team kind of falls off. I like the quarterback who wants to get his money, but won't strap the team cap-wise. I want somewhere in between that Tom Brady, where he's taking $25 million, which is way too low, and this 43. I want like a 33, 35, somewhere in that range, because then it gives you flexibility to build the team around you. It's such a high number, $43 million a year. 150 guaranteed. He got 100 at
It is
signing.
crazy to think about. I remember when it was just a couple years ago and we were seeing a Mike Glennon get like a $15 or $19 million contract, and he wasn't sure if he was going to be a starter. That was like a backup, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" for Mike Glennon. But that's the way quarterback contracts go, is that they keep going up. The next one is always going to be higher. You rarely see those Tom Brady type contracts where they're going to take, below what they could command, to help the team, but they're still going to get paid pretty damn well. Who's going to laugh at, $30 million, a year? But it's just the name of the game. And 25% of your cap value for a quarterback is high. And I know we're, just choosing little points, but I think 20% is a good range to shoot for, 20% of your cap. And then obviously cap's a myth. You can move that around here left or right in different years in order to work for your situation and whatnot. But I mean, let's be real. Like I said, I wasn't huge on Josh Allen coming out. I am happy to eat crow with him because I actually like his style of football. I like the way that he plays, and we can't argue with the numbers that he put up last year.
Yeah,
69% completion percentage.
Second in MVP.
4,500 yards, more than a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and over 100 passer rating. You can't really argue with what he did. He's definitely the star of his team. It's just, I do think that he has to have the supporting cast around him. I think if you have a Stephon Diggs go down, these numbers are going to drop pretty significantly.
Yeah. Well, speaking about helping out the team and needing a supporting cast around you, that reminds me, guys. So if you want to interact with the show, if you guys want to help out our team, the team that you're a part of, please interact with the show. Go on Twitter at the Lineman Lounge. You got the Facebook page and the group. You go to Instagram, TikTok. We also have the email. Please send in some email questions. We are very excited to try to get into those and, see what you guys have for the show. Evo, give them that email address.
It is linemanlounge@gmail.com. All right, so we want to hear what you guys think of the show. We want to hear your questions, topics that you guys want to have us hit on. So please email us at linemanlounge@gmail.com. And then it really helps us if you give us that support on YouTube by just tickling that like button for us, subscribing.
Subscribe.
It takes a second out of your day, and it really means a lot to us. It means that you guys like the content that we're putting out, and it allows us to kind of grow as a brand and bring more of what you guys want as far as podcast or YouTube content. So we really would appreciate it. We're really appreciative of all the likes and subscribes that we've already gotten. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. And so right now I know that the YouTube page is a little hard to find. It's youtube.com/YZX30, whatever. So once we get to that 100 subscribers mark, we can go ahead and create that custom URL. It'll be youtube.com/the Lineman Lounge. It'll make us easier to find, easier for you guys to get your content. Anything that you guys can do, like, subscribe, rate the show on any of the podcast platforms. All of that is good stuff, and I appreciate it. But we're going to hop back in to the football stuff. And what does this deal for Josh Allen do to set up deals coming for Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson that we talked about? Are we seeing more money? Are we seeing less money? I have a thought on what's going to happen with Lamar. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Baker based on his personality, but I want to get your take first.
So I honestly thought Josh Allen might get the least money out of all three of them. I think Lamar Jackson is seen as more of a flashy player and more of the identity almost of the Ravens, and that they were going to just throw some stupid money at him. Now, if they're going to wait until the end of the season, I think Lamar Jackson is a little bit more of a flash in the pan. He's extremely exciting to watch. I don't know that his arm develops as much as people think or keep on saying that they hope that it will. And so if he doesn't look that phenomenal through the season, the smart choice would be to not offer him as much money, but I feel like the Ravens are going to do it anyways. And then with Baker, he's set up to have a really good year. Yeah. I know that you love to hear this.
I do.
But
I do. Go ahead.
The Browns are probably going to win their division. They should go deep in the playoffs, and barring a complete breakdown or injuries or something like that, they have definite AFC Championship and Super Bowl aspirations. They're a very, very good team, and that is only going to help Baker look for a nice big contract. So if Baker goes out there and balls out this year, and you end up seeing the Browns in that AFC Championship or the Super Bowl, he's going to have a shitload of ammunition in his gun to say, hey, I want to be paid, like one of the top quarterbacks in the league because I am one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I'm bringing, this Browns team, this much maligned Browns team, out of the gutter and up to, the penthouse. So show me a little bit of love. If I had to choose, it would probably be 1A Baker Mayfield, 1B Josh Allen, and I think it depends what type of team you have, which quarterback works better for you, and I think both their situations work out for them. As far as if I was choosing a quarterback to be on my team, and I think that's how it'll end up shaking out in the long run on how they get paid. And Lamar Jackson, he's kind of that wild card for me. I feel like he should get paid the least out of all three of them, but that he might get paid the most out of all three of them.
Yeah, so that's the way I see this going. I think Lamar's deal is for a shorter term, but I think he gets the most money per year. I think he gets over that Mahomes $45 million. I think he gets 45 and a half, 46, because he is probably the most electric player in the NFL. He is so dynamic with his legs. The quarterback over 1,000 yards rushing. Okay, his arm is getting better, but I don't think we'll ever see him be that true beat you with his arm guy. I don't know that he has that ability. Now he can absolutely sling it. He has a cannon attached to his right shoulder, but his accuracy outside the numbers has always been the question mark. He's great down the middle of the field, but can he get the ball outside? We're going to find out this year because he's got a couple extra weapons. If he goes and balls out, I think he gets over that $45 million that Pat Mahomes get. But you can't give this guy a 10-year deal like you gave Pat Mahomes because that injury risk, even though he has not been injured yet, that's always in the back of everybody's mind. I don't know if you could ask a casual fan or a legit super fan or somebody who knows the game who's going to tell you that they're not worried about Lamar getting hurt because he runs so much. He ran for over 1,000 yards. So if you give this guy a shitload of guaranteed money, a 10-year deal, and then you lock yourself in and he takes that big hit that has not come yet, then you're on the hook, and now you're looking at possibly one of the worst contracts in the NFL history.
Yeah, even your most durable guys, if they're going to be that physical and taking that many hits, they are going to get dinged up sooner or later. It's just how it happens. It's football. So at some point in time, you can expect he's going to go out, and that's why you have to kind of hedge your bets. And I completely agree. His contracts probably should be reduced in length. That could bite the team on the back end because whenever you reduce those length in contracts,
Then
it means
another
that
one comes
there's
up.
more time for him to get a new contract. That's the thing with these contracts is that it's going to seem like a mega deal in the beginning, and then 5 years down the line, it might be as long as the player has performed well, it might seem like, hey, you got a hell of a deal out of signing him for only $43 million or $45 million per year type thing. So we'll see what happens. Lamar's back from that little COVID stint, so we'll see. I think he probably should only be getting that 3-year extension or something like that. But
yeah, well, we'll get back into the Lamar and the COVID thing and how that could affect him. But on to Baker. Baker is not the reason, for the most part, on why the Browns win. When Baker plays bad, when he has played bad, he has been the reason that they have lost. There's a couple games that I can remember where he has gone out and actually won the game. But that offense is predicated on the run game. Baker he's obviously a very boastful person at times. I think that is toned down a bit. He is becoming more of your CEO type guy. Baker knows that as the number one pick, as somebody in Cleveland, of all the places to try to win, that might be the hardest place to do it. He can kind of hedge his bets. I think Baker can say, you know what? I can take a little less money and I can do a shorter deal. I don't need a 6-year. I'm not looking for a 3-year like a Lamar might get, But if you give me a 4-year deal with, an option for maybe a fifth, I think he can take a little less money. He can get that next contract because Baker is a little bit older than these other guys. And he can, cash in again at 30 if everything works. I don't see Baker as the guy who cares so much about the money. He's not going to take your Tom Brady deal. He's not going to take your $25 million.
You think it's a little bit ego and moxie based that he'll be like, I don't need all that money because I'm going to show up.
Well,
show what I got regardless.
There is a little bit of that. I think that he doesn't necessarily. He knows that he's a good player. People around the league are starting to take notice that Baker is good. Obviously, he had that sophomore slump. I think ego does play a little bit into it, but I'm not saying ego is a bad thing here. I think it's probably a good thing. And Baker is not a guy who has had to struggle a lot growing up. I think that makes a difference in these player contracts. Guys who come from nothing, when they make it, they want to make it for everybody. Baker came from a well-to-do family. He came from money. Not like Josh Rosen came from money. But he knows that, listen, I can take a smaller deal. I think for Baker, what matters more to him is his legacy more than anything else. He is a guy who was a walk-on, earns a scholarship, gets cut from Texas Tech or was not going to be offered a scholarship, walks on at Oklahoma, becomes the Heisman winner, becomes the number 1 overall pick, turns the Cleveland organization around. Right now, Baker has one of the best stories of any quarterback that we've seen in probably decades on where he started to where he got. So, to me, Baker cares much more about his legacy and not so much about the money, that I think his deal will end up being the smallest. Also, he hasn't won an MVP, and he has not put up the numbers that Josh Allen has. And Cleveland is going to be very analytical with what they do because that's how that organization is run now.
Right.
I think his contract ends up being smaller, but he has the potential to do the most with that stacked Cleveland Browns team and then getting another contract and building off of that.
Yeah, as long as he plays it smart, he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are going to be getting assloads of money, and it's not like he's not already getting paid, not necessarily as much by the team, but he's got all those State Farm commercials or whatever,
Progressive,
excuse me. I don't really pay attention to that too much. I just know that I keep on seeing him in the football stadium cleaning up and stuff like
that's
that.
That's Baker's house, baby.
So he's going to get paid. He's going to continue to get paid. It's just as long as he consistently puts out on the field, he's going to make his money and set his family up for life. So good to go there. One guy who I don't know is going to get paid, Daniel Jones with the Giants, and Joe Judge. I don't know how that's all going to work out. I never was a Daniel Jones fan. Sounds like he got a little bit crumpled up earlier this week in some fighting that happened.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk a little bit about UFC here before too long, but it was a little bit of a UFC match there for the Giants in practice this week. What's going on with Joe Judge? I didn't like him coming in as a coach, but it sounds like he's kind of losing control of his team.
So this is another guy from that Patriots organization that, the Patriots do things a certain way. He was a special teams coach.
Yep.
So they work with all these different types of players, so they should make a good transition into that head coaching. I don't trust anybody coming out of New England as a head coach in that Bill Belichick system. They had 3 guys in 4 days retire.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a great look. Now, why they retired hasn't fully come out, but there are reports that they're doing extra workouts, push-ups, sprints. They get into a massive brawl that ends with your QB1 on the bottom of a pile in just an all-out brawl. I don't trust Joe Judge. I don't like Daniel Jones. I didn't like Daniel Jones coming out.
Yep.
He was way overdrafted. I mean, Baker said some things that he maybe should not have said to the media about, God, how the hell do you take that guy that high?
Yeah, but that's your normal moxie of a quarterback that's feeling like, hey, I'm whether or not the chip is on my shoulder, I'm gonna make sure y'all know there's a chip on my shoulder, and I'm gonna fight. So it's whatever. Daniel Jones is just he's so tapioca as far as it goes with quarterbacks.
Well,
He's just vanilla. He's nothing special.
and we have buried Sam Darnold a couple times because he was so turnover prone.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Jones is in the same boat. Now he's not throwing as many picks, but he's got to stop eating that popcorn before games because he fumbles so damn much. Like they don't have a ton of weapons. Saquon is coming back, so we'll see what happens there. But Saquon is a very twitchy guy. There's a potential for injuries there. Can the entire offense run through Saquon and allow Daniel Jones to use play action off of that and make him better? Maybe. I don't know about that offensive line. They just lost 2 offensive linemen to retirement because they don't want to play for fucking Joe Judge.
I don't think anyone other than probably Giants fans were expecting anything other than average out of the Giants this year. It should be a sign for management there. Let's start over again. Let's get rid of Joe Judge at the end of the year, and let's reevaluate what we really have in Daniel Jones, and see if we need to start building for a potential full-on rebuild here in the future. I don't think he's the guy. Maybe he shows us something this year, but it is what it is. You got Mr. Grumble Pants there, Belichick in New England, and like you're saying, you can't just pull a guy off of his staff and throw him on a team and expect to have Belichick 2.0. It hasn't happened yet. It's not going to happen.
No.
He runs a very unique type of system that he's the only one that seems to be able to do it, So
Yeah, I don't, and that's the thing. Like, so Bill Belichick has made this work. Every other guy that has left has tried to do that same Bill Belichick thing, and it doesn't work. That is not a standard way to do things. Now, Belichick was fantastic. That 20-year stretch that the Patriots had is probably the best stretch of any team championship contending wise ever in any sport. We'll never see a dynasty like that again. But Belichick is the exception, not the rule. That does not work everywhere. These guys are paid professional athletes. That rah-rah, getting in your ass type thing doesn't work everywhere. These guys are paid more than the head coach. Belichick has found a way for that to work for him, and now that's cemented. But unless you come in with that system and have immediate success, it's not going to work. I don't know why the NFL keeps shuffling through these guys from Belichick's system thinking, I'm going to get the next Bill Belichick. You're not. Belichick is a one of one. He is the best NFL coach in history. You cannot just, he learned from him, so he's going to be the next him. It doesn't work that way. Now, everybody has their coaching trees. Now, if you want to hire a guy out of Andy Reid's system, those guys typically work out. Belichick's coaching tree is not great. I mean, he's got Vrabel. That's about it. That's the only one that's really had any kind of success. That Bill Belichick coaching tree is not built for today's modern NFL.
I think down in Miami, you got another guy that might end up working out. But yeah, to just like you're saying, the coaching tree really isn't there. These guys don't work out elsewhere. It just is what it is. But you have NFL owners and GMs that are going to continue to try to find gold out of that system, and it's because NFL owners like the idea of, hey, if we can get a bunch of championships in a row, that's exactly what I want. If they're able to do it there in New England, you should be able to come do it for me. They're used to being able to just throw money at a situation and make it work out for them. That's what they're going to do. They're not actually looking for those intangibles and things in a coach that you want that might be a little bit different or new and take your team to the promised land. But it is what it is. Giants, fix yourselves. Joe Judge probably should reevaluate what you're doing with your team. Can't be having these UFC brawls going on in the middle of practice. Yeah,
that's not a good look anywhere, whether you're Belichick or a McVay guy. It doesn't matter what system you come from. You can't have a giant brawl in training camp that ends with your QB1 on the bottom of a pile. It's not ever going to be a good look.
Yep.
So,
All right. So moving on, we've got UFC this weekend.
yes, we do.
Overall, a pretty boring card, I have to say.
I don't.
Main event is, and sorry if we mispronounce this name, but it's Cyril Gane versus Derrick Lewis. All right, so I didn't know who Cyril Gane was. He's a French fighter out of Paris, 9-0, and he's actually fought some pretty big names and obviously won all those, being 9-0. But Derrick Lewis is the guy that I know. That guy, he's just got some hot balls. All right, and he loves to just scrap down. It reminds me a lot of who did I say earlier? Now I'm not going to be able to remember his name. That backyard junkyard fighter.
Kimbo.
Kimbo Slice. There you go. All right. So, and I always like that. That's fun to root for. But Derrick Lewis is the underdog, you know?
Massive underdog. He's a plus 270 underdog. He's fought for titles before. Cyril Gane, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that wrong, but I think I got it right. Huge favorite at minus 355.
Yeah.
So either this guy is the next great thing, he's going to be the guy who can take out Francis, or, and I don't say this very often, Las Vegas has severely missed on this line. I do not see Derrick Lewis as a massive underdog to anybody because the things that he can do inside the octagon. He has one punch knockout power, and I don't care who you put in there.
I mean, Ngannou.
He could knock out Ngannou. Ngannou and Derrick Lewis are very similar in the fact that they have the ability to put your lights out very quickly. They will rush in and they will take you out. Derrick Lewis's problem has always been that he is very much a stand-up guy and doesn't necessarily have a well-rounded game. But you give a guy with that kind of power a puncher's chance. How is he a plus 270?
I mean, so we're looking a little bit more into Sogan before we started the pod, and I mean his last couple of fights, he's fought legit dudes. All right, so last fight, Alexander Volkov won in decision. Rosenstrike before that won by decision. You know, after 5 rounds. Junior Dos Santos before that. And that was a TKO with an elbow. So he has fought some legit dudes, and this is all, you know, less than in the past 12 months. Right, so he's fought some legit guys. He's obviously got some talent, and the guy is cut. So you know, he's a Muay Thai kickbox type fighter. It'll be interesting to see how that meshes with Derrick Lewis, who's definitely just that one punch, I'm gonna knock your ass out with these hot balls.
But with these decision wins, can he knock out Derrick Lewis? Because
We haven't seen it yet.
in a 5-round fight, give me the guy who has knockout power.
Yeah.
Because once you start to wear down round 4,
Well, how's
round
Derrick
5,
Lewis's cardio going to be going in that long?
Derrick has fought 5-round fights before.
Yeah.
I mean, Cyril Gane's obviously gone 5 rounds, but didn't get the finish. I don't see it. I mean, we had some guys at work saying Cyril Gane is the next big thing. I mean, I'm gonna watch the fight. I'm excited to see.
And
if
that's
he
about
can do
the
it.
only thing that I'm going to watch out of
Yeah,
that
because
fight card.
the rest of this card sucks unless you're super excited about Jose Aldo, which I'm not. He's not the guy that piques my interest anymore. Not like he used to. But yeah, I do not see a reason to watch this card other than that main event because I want to see what happens. Also, there's a lot of controversy about the fact that this is for an interim heavyweight title fight, even though Ngannou just won the title, but he won't agree to a deal, a fight, because the money's not right.
Right.
So there's some controversy there. Whoever wins this fight is now the interim champ. They're going to have to do a unification fight at some point. That's the fight I'm really excited about. This fight, I don't see the Cyril Gane plus 330, Derrick Lewis minus 270. Maybe
Yeah,
I'll be very surprised.
Those numbers are a bit off to me too, but maybe we just been sleeping on Cyril Gahn. So we'll see what happens. But that's what we got going into this weekend. Other than that, the big thing to watch out for this weekend is Mike and I are playing in a golf tournament.
Damn right we are.
Competing against each other.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll give you guys an update on Tuesday how that goes. I don't think either of us are going to end up having our teams win this scramble tournament.
No, we got some old guys that are fucking sharks out there.
All they do is golf, and we actually have to work still, so we can't just be out there practicing all the time. But it's going to be competitive against our teams. Obviously, friendly competition. But Mike and I, we both like to golf. We like to have fun, drink a few beers. So we'll see how that goes this weekend, and we'll report back on Tuesday whose team does a little bit better, how everything works out. But beyond that, anything else you want to talk about today, Mike?
No, man, I think that pretty much covers it. Pretty light on the news category. Obviously, we had the football stuff come up, and then the UFC. We're going to talk about Olympics once it's all wrapped up. We'll kind of do a recap of that. Hopefully something exciting will happen in baseball. NBA is pretty much done with the exception of the potential gold medal that they could win in the Olympics. But until we get some more preseason games kicking off, we're gonna stop right here. We'll reevaluate on Tuesday, and we'll come back with hopefully some more content that you guys are very excited to listen to.
Yeah. If we keep on hearing about some sort of freestyle canoeing or some bullshit, if you want us to talk about it, we'll talk about it. We'll probably talk shit on it. But if you want to see some of that sort of content on the pod, please just email us. Let us know that what you want to hear. lymanlounge@gmail.com, and we'll give our takes on it.
Yeah, freestyle canoeing is the most outrageous thing I've seen on the internet in a long time. I cannot wait for somebody to email that in. That way I can hopefully try to pull up a little clip and completely bury the asinine content, which is freestyle canoeing.
Hey, it's a beautiful, art form.
It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. But I think that does it, man.
All right.
Let's get the hell out of here. Guys, thank you very much. Once again, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, the email. Go to YouTube, like, subscribe, rate our show on any podcast platform. Thank you very much. As always, sleeves are optional.
See ya.